I am a big fan of pork steaks, and if you don't know what a pork steak is, it's typically a steak cut from the pork shoulder, often sold at Texas Hill Country style barbecue joints, places like Snow's and City Market. I've cooked a good few of them, especially since I've had a direct heat cooker, the Chud box, and I am really craving them, so I'm gonna cook some up today. However, today I'm gonna be using something different from the typical pork shoulder, and instead I'm gonna be using some nice thick cut pork collar. So I'm a real big fan of pork collar. Typically when I do pulled pork, I'll opt for pork collar over the shoulder. They typically have some nice intramuscular fat in them, and John Davidson's online butchers sell these pre-cut, nice and thick, perfect for making some pork steaks at home. And I'm gonna keep it simple as usual, go for that classic Texas style salt and pepper, trying to keep it traditional. I'm gonna go pretty heavy on the salt because when I was in Texas a couple of weeks back and I went to City Market in Giddings, one thing I noticed was their pork steaks were extremely well seasoned all the way through. So I'm gonna let these dry brine in the fridge for about 2 hours. Nicely salted, I'm gonna hit it with some black pepper, and that salt is gonna draw out some moisture and help this pepper stick. I'm gonna go on pretty heavy with the pepper because some of it might come off when we mop these. These are gonna hang out for a while. Hopefully a little bit of dry brine action is gonna go on, and then we will go outside and fire at the pit. This charcoal is about 70% of the way lit, and I like to go in with some of it unlit because I like the smokiness that comes off of this when the unlit ones start to catch. Move some of these coals around a little bit, just like that, you know. And I'm using Big K charcoal, but it works really well in the Chud box. Let it come up to temp. The Chud box is around 300 Fahrenheit. Bang in the middle with these pork collars. So pork steaks are on, cooking on that direct heat. They're gonna be great, but behind every great pork steak is a delicious Mopped sauce. So we need to make one up. So for our Mopped sauce, we're gonna go in with 1 medium onion, 1 block of butter, some hot sauce, I'm using Frank's, some apple cider vinegar, mustard powder, some Lowry's, some garlic powder, some randomly looking in my cupboard trying to find things to put into this, some lemon juice, and finally one of my favorite rubs, the Hardcore Carnivore Tex-Mex rub, and just some water. We're gonna get this onto the heat, melt that butter, boil those onions for a little bit, and it should be good to go. Get it onto the heat. So these pork collars have been on for about an hour, and this really is where the magic happens. So as these pork collars have been cooking, the fat and juices are dropping down onto the coals, creating some steam and some smoke, and that's gonna add flavor. But once this Mopped sauce hits those coals, it's going to create even more, it's going to add even more flavor to these pork steaks, including that nice vinegar acidic hit that's going to come from the apple cider vinegar. That fatty butter is going to create a huge amount of flavor and smoke. Good color on these pork steaks. After an hour, we're going to go in and just start mopping. And I'm going to do this every 15 minutes or so. This is why I love direct heat. All that smoke and flavor coming up gives it that real kind of unique flavor that comes with direct heat cooking. Capture all that smoke, let it keep cooking. So if you're anything like me, you can take or leave barbecue sauce. I'm not a huge fan. However, my craving for pork steaks also includes a nice thin Central Texas style barbecue sauce to dip it in. And a couple of weeks ago, you may have seen that I was at City Market in Giddings, and they had a real nice thin barbecue sauce that complemented the pork steak real well. And a couple of weeks ago, someone commented the recipe for the Luling City Market. Let me know if that's not how you say Luling on one of my other videos. So I'm gonna try and make up like an old school Texas style barbecue sauce using that recipe. Don't know how accurate it is, but I'm gonna try and make some up. So this recipe calls for 8 ounces of tomato sauce, canned tomato sauce. And I've done a little bit of research, and in America, what you guys call canned tomato sauce is something that we don't really have here. The closest thing would probably be passata. So I did some more research, and someone on Reddit suggested to get 8 ounces of what Americans would call tomato sauce, you would take half that amount, so 4 ounces or 113 grams of tomato puree, and the other half, 4 ounces or 113 grams, in water. And I should have something that resembles the Hunt's canned tomato sauce. Let me know if you disagree. I was gonna buy some Hunt's tomato sauce canned, but it's kind of expensive here, so this is what I'm going for. To that, I'm gonna add in 5 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of yellow mustard, 3 tablespoons of Louisiana hot sauce. I use Texas Pete because that's what I've got. 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and 1 teaspoon of coarse ground black pepper. And I was told specifically not to cook this sauce, so this is just a uncooked barbecue sauce, and it's a little bit thicker than I thought it would be. Thought it would be slightly thinner than that. Taste-wise, it's really good. I thought that tomato sauce would be a little bit more acidic. Also, as that hangs out, that's gonna change flavor a little bit, so we'll see how it comes up. So I probably mopped these pork steaks 4 or 5 times in the last hour, and they are smelling absolutely delicious. I like to create some extra smoke and steam. But I think it's probably time to pull these off and wrap them. And I'm just gonna probe these using my Chef's Temp Final Touch X10. Get a nice quick reading. These are roughly sitting around the temperature I like to wrap these at, around 170 or so. Wrap them in some foil, start to get these nice and tender. Get these back on the pit. And we're gonna get these straight back on. The texture we're looking for is not quite pulled pork and not tough. Somewhere in between, nice sliceable texture. So we'll come back in, check these again in about 45 minutes. About an hour after these pork steaks got wrapped up, they are feeling nice and tender. So these are definitely not quite the level of kind of pulled pork tender. They're in around 209 Fahrenheit, but the most important thing is nice and tender. Gonna give them one last little hit with this mop, just because I love it. It tastes so good. We'll take these inside and let them rest. And just a very quick note to say that the good people at Chef's Temp are giving 25% off site-wide on their website to everyone using the code on screen, and UK viewers can get free shipping. So thanks very much, Chef's Temp. These have been resting for a little bit, and they're rocking an internal temperature of about 145. And I realized that when I temped them earlier, they were 207, 210, something like that. And some of you are probably asking yourselves, how are they not pulled pork texture at that temperature? And that is basically a perfect example of why time and temperature matter, not just temperature. We could get these pork steaks up to 200 Fahrenheit internal in a microwave pretty quickly, but if they haven't had enough time for that connective tissue to break down, then they're gonna be tough. Let's take them out. Ooh, they look real good. I want to cut this like a steak, and oh yeah, that looks good. Should hopefully pull apart nice and easy, which it does. Oh, that looks good. Smells delicious. That is exactly what I want from a pork steak. Sliceable, but you can just pull it apart if you want to. That fat in there is rendered. That, to me, is a perfect little tray of old school direct heat barbecue, some delicious, tender, smoky pork collar steak. And I'll be honest, that is perfectly cooked. So straight off the bat, you get the saltiness, you get the pepper, but that direct heat charcoal flavor comes through pretty quickly. And it is just so good. Direct heat over the last couple of months has quickly become my favorite way to eat barbecue, to cook barbecue and to eat barbecue. It is so delicious. Slice of white bread. This is butter crust. Something you'll find on the table of many barbecue restaurants in Texas. Some pickles. That City Market barbecue sauce. I wish I had some white onion, but that otherwise is a perfect little pork steak foldy. Oh. That is so good. You cannot beat the direct heat. Yeah, I ate that foldy before I had a chance to describe it. Little touch of barbecue sauce on this slice. That barbecue sauce is good. I'm not sure how different it would have been if I'd used the like Hunt's can of tomato sauce, but it tastes really good to me. It tastes like I just used ketchup, to be honest. It definitely doesn't need barbecue sauce. With that mop sauce, there's plenty of flavor in it, plenty of salt in it from that dry brine, but it's not a bad little addition. And I'm really happy with how this came out. Perfectly sliceable, not too mushy, not dried out at all. And once again, the pork collar, perfect. I would highly recommend picking up some pork collar if you can come across it. Maybe I'll go in with one more little pork steak foldy. Oh yeah. Tastes like I'm back in Texas. As soon as I turn the camera off, I'm gonna eat the other pork steak. I mean, it can't get much more simple than that. If you can't get hold of pork collar, just use pork shoulder steaks. You can get them in Costco or buy a pork shoulder, cut it up, make it as thick as you want. Cook it over some direct heat with a good amount of space between the charcoal and the meat. Cook it to perfection and you've got yourself some perfect Central Texas style pork steaks that anyone will be happy with. So that is it. Pork collar, pork steaks on the Chub box. Absolutely perfect. One of my favorite things to cook. They're super easy, super quick. That took in total around about 4.5 hours, maybe. And as always, with the direct heat stuff, stuff, the amount of effort that you put in versus the flavor you get out is just a no-brainer. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and also let me know if you know of a different Central Texas old school style barbecue sauce. Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'll see you in a week for another video.